I just love this idea of intentional living at home, really thinking about how your home can serve you.
Hi, everyone. It's Kara Goldin from The Kara Goldin Show, and I am super excited to have my next guest here. We have Ariel Kaye, who is the founder and CEO of Parachute. And for over a decade, Ariel worked in New York in marketing and branding. We were just chatting that she's in Los Angeles now. She was a huge interior design and home decor enthusiast. And over the years, she saw a huge gap in the market for high quality yet affordable bedding. And that's when the inspiration for Parachute was born. Parachute became a game changer when it launched in 2014. It's one of the only direct-to-consumer sellers of super high-quality bed linens. I absolutely love it. And today, Parachute has expanded into almost all rooms of home decor. And all I have to say is that their textiles are truly out of this world. So everything you could want in bed linens, soft, comfy, affordable, stuff, but really, really high quality. So I'm really excited to hear more about Ariel's backstory and just overall, just her journey. So welcome.
Thank you.
Very, very excited. So we talked about you living in New York for a while. Are you from LA? Is that where you started?
I'm from LA. Yeah, I'm from LA. And then I went to New York for college. So I went to NYU and I then worked for a few years. Then I got a master's in media studies at the New School. So I was in New York for quite a while. And then when I decided to start Parachute, I made the move back to LA.
What did you think you were going to do getting out of school?
Oh, I don't know. I've had sort of an unconventional career. I hopped around to a lot of different jobs. I think the thing that I always knew about myself is that I have to keep learning. Like I get very bored easily. I am very curious. I like to learn more. I like to be put into new environments. And so I just found myself in a number of different roles, wanting to make a bigger impact or wanting to work with different types of people, wanting to work with different types of companies and brands, and you just keep learning. And so being an entrepreneur has checked a lot of boxes because one thing you are always doing is learning. And there is definitely no days that feel the same. So I think, I'm creative. I like telling stories and I feel really connected to customers. Like I really want to connect with customers and build relationships. And that's both personally and professionally. But I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have, taken a lot of more circles and figured it out at some point.
So when you went to get your master's, did you have an idea of what you thought you wanted to do?
No, I mean, that was part of the reason why I got my master's. I had worked a bit in PR, I'd worked a bit in advertising, I'd worked in marketing, and I just wasn't feeling like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I decided that school might be a good way to punt that decision and just learn more. And I became very excited about this program at the New School. It was founded by Marshall McLuhan, who wrote The Medium's Message, which was a book that really resonated with me. And I don't know, the more that I learned, it was a program that was really theoretical, but also practical. So I got to make movies and I got to create a lot of different I don't know. It really worked. And along the way, I ended up getting introduced to someone who would become my boss at the first job that I had after grad school. So it ended up working out.
I love that. So what was that first job then after grad school?
I worked in advertising. So I worked at a big agency called Digitas in New York. I worked on big accounts. I was on the strategic side of creative. So my job was really to think about the consumer, to think about how to connect with the customer and how to build relationships with the number of different brands that I worked with. I worked with American Express and I did a bit with Burger King and Samsung, and it was a number of different businesses. I worked on a lot of new business pitches. It was really fun and it was creative, and I got to use both sides of my brain, which I really enjoyed. But big agency world, can get exhausting. And there was also a lot that over time that wasn't working and didn't feel like the right role for me long term. So I started to think about what was next, and Parachute became it.
So that was your first real, like outside of an agency company, was actually starting your own.
Yeah, was starting my own. Yeah. Initially I thought, I had a bunch of friends that were joining early stage startups and were starting their own companies. So I got a little bit of a taste, definitely as an outsider, of what it looked like to be, in a smaller team or to start your own business. And I was really inspired by my friends along that journey and saw just how hard they were working and how rewarding it was. And, I wanted to throw myself into it as well. And, I was like feeling envious of my friends that were bailing on social plans to build cool companies. And, it felt like if not now, when, and this was, the time. And so initially I actually thought, what if I could join a company and get that experience? But then this idea for Parachute came to be, and I became fully consumed with the idea, the opportunity, and there was really no stopping me.
This stem, tell me a little bit about the backstory. So did this stem out of you looking for linens and sheets initially, or what?
Yeah. So, that's certainly a part of it. So, the year is 2012. I had basically decided that by the end of the year, I wanted to figure out what was next. And so, I had started a home and design blog in 2006. So I was very early into the blogging days, and I was also helping friends decorate their apartments in New York. And I was also constantly redecorating mine. So in many ways, I became a super consumer in this space. I was shopping for friends and I was shopping for myself, and I was just really immersed in this home world as a passion, not as a profession. But as I was sort of thinking about, what was next, I just kept coming back to the home as a place that I felt really inspired and passionate about. And then as I was looking more kind of critically at the category, I realized that there was so much that was left to be desired, that the purchase experience for these products, going into a big box retailer was just the opposite of what I wanted. Floor to ceiling stacked products. There was no brand in this category. None of my friends could tell me what products they liked. Everything, every time I got a little bit deeper, I realized that there was so much that could happen in this category. So, it was kind of a stars aligning moment for me, where I was wanting to do something that was entrepreneurial. I wanted to do something in the home, and I also wanted to keep building relationships and inspiring customers. And it all happened.
I love how you talked about even working in the agency world and working. I mentioned American Express and Burger King as some of the best marketers, American Express in particular. I was at my first job when I moved to New York was at Time Magazine. And I always talk about, consumer marketing and American Express, people who have worked there, and also people who have worked at Time. I think really I learned a lot from those people over the years that have worked at either of those companies. And I'm sure some of that you probably saw just in kind of their thinking about the consumer in particular. Do you think that gave you the courage working with people who, were kind of doing big things ultimately? Big campaigns were getting launched. And while you were definitely a spoke in the wheel, did you feel like, okay, there's a mystery out there before you're actually a part of it, I guess is the piece. And I often hear this from people, like that's where they get the courage. They don't just sit there and say, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. Maybe some people do, or maybe some people are born with it. But I think actually, seeing the bigger picture, some way, shape, or form, whether you work for an entrepreneur or work for an agency where you get exposed to a lot of, great marketers, great companies, maybe that's where you got it.
Yeah, I definitely learned so much, working with those big companies. There was a lot of, really smart people that, and I was, getting to work alongside, like you said, creative people and big campaigns. And I mean, there was so much learning. I actually credit the push that I got to really become an entrepreneur to a friend of mine when I was initially talking about this idea for Parachute, and he turned to me and said, "You can do this. You're an entrepreneur." I don't say that lightly. Like I can tell that you can do this, and and this is a friend of mine who's been a serial entrepreneur and has launched many companies, and I in that moment I actually felt like, really, I can. And he's been someone that's been very helpful over the past many, many years as I've built this company. So I always credit him as being that person that really pushed me and made me feel comfortable. But I certainly think that my experiences to date and just the way that I think about the world, there was so much that played a part. And certainly my professional experiences before Parachute were hugely impactful.
I love it. So one of the things that I also just heard you talk about was the way that linens were sold, right? In these large stores. It was less appealing to you. And do you think it's because maybe you just grew up that way, that you lost trust in some of these big stores, that it was less about quality and things that and uniqueness and things that you were looking for?
Yeah. I mean, so the category, when I think about like 10 years ago, I mean, these were products that were largely licensed. Many of the bigger box retailers and furniture stores, they were using these products as upsell opportunities, but they certainly weren't core products. I think, they didn't have the same flashy appeal as some of the other products in the home space. And they were very commodity products. There was a lot of marketing gimmicks like thread count. And yeah, there was nothing. It was like, these are products you need. These were never the products that you wanted. And I think over the past 8 years, we've helped to shift that consumer perspective and remind people just how important sleep and how important these products are. These are the products that you use every day, and they really can impact your comfort at home. But yeah, there was a lot that was left to be desired. And I think I am part of this consumer base that, wants to buy beautiful products at beautiful places. And that's been changing, over the past many years. And there's, this new appetite and desire to buy quality products, to shop with your values and to find brands that you connect with. And, when I started Parachute, it was pretty early days of the direct to consumer world, and direct to consumer as a shopping behavior. But when I saw brands that, really started this movement, they were really appealing to me. I wanted quality products. I wanted more affordable products. The idea of cutting out the middleman and being able to provide this premium quality at an accessible price was really, really, it made sense. It resonated with myself as a consumer. And so certainly, as I was getting started and really understanding the inner workings of this business, I saw just how applicable it was to this category, and felt like if I started in the bedroom in this part of the home that's so intimate, to build that relationship, I could build trust and then expand to many more products. And so that was really the vision from the beginning, was how do I build that trust with the customer and actually provide a valuable experience, not just from a shopping experience, but also from the product experience.
You started Parachute, you quit your job, I read, and took money out of your savings and bought a one-way ticket to Europe. I mean, did you know people in the industry? I guess you went to Europe to find manufacturing plants or visit a few?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just decided that I had to figure out how these products were made. That was first things first. I needed to understand the product, how they were made. I needed to understand the cost. I needed to see it for myself. And so I went and visited 15 factories throughout Portugal and Italy. I used a lot of Google searches. I reached out to anyone and everyone that I knew that had any sort of connection into textiles or into manufacturing. I just went for it. I met with some of the factories that we still work with today. Many of them were like, oh, that's sweet. A nice American girl wants to start a new business and sell sheets. We'll see how that goes, but they took a meeting and, I remember walking through the floors of these, manufacturing, centers and factories and just being totally blown away, like beyond blown away. I mean, I think for many people, seeing how things are made is just such an exciting opportunity and so inspiring. And you go to these like huge, you see these machines and the way everything's working together and the people behind the products and the details, and the quality and, seeing something move from a fiber to a finished product and all that goes into it was just mesmerizing. And I came back from that trip so much more inspired, so much more excited and ready to do this and build this business, and truly felt like nothing could stop me. I mean, I just saw it so clearly and went really hard.
How long from your first factory visit to actual launch of the product?
It was about a year.
About a year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little less than a year. I went on that trip in March and I launched the following January. So it was about 10 months. And yeah, I mean, it just happened.
And what was the first person you felt like you needed to hire into the company?
So I made my first hire about 3 weeks after I launched. I hired someone that had a background in finance. I knew that I needed someone to help me there to build models, to think about projections, to really support me because that's not my background and my area of expertise. And, but at that stage, this person was, willing to just get their hands dirty and help out. And, we joke that, we all took out the trash, so, having someone that was just ready to work hard, to figure things out. And so the title was Director of Operations, but really it was, the two of us for quite some time trying to get everything done.
Jack of all trades. So,
yeah, I mean, that's, you really have to. I needed someone with some insight and expertise in everything financial related, and operations was helpful too, so that I could focus on more of the creative side of the business, the physical product. I was handling customer service and all of those things, marketing. So that's how we divided and conquered. It was kind of the front of the house and the back of the house.
So different from my company, Hint. We handed out bottles of Hint in order to get people to try it when we first started. I can't imagine that you were handing out sheets at the beach like we were, right? How did you get those people to first understand? Because again, I think part of what is really difficult about the category overall, when you go especially to, I guess on direct to consumer as well, but in the big box stores, is that a lot of times the sheets aren't out, right? They're in and you want to feel them. You want to really see them on the bed and kind of create a story around it. So I'm curious, how did you get your message across? What was the first campaign that you really started pushing in order to get people to know that you were alive?
You're right. Touching the product is such a big part of this category. And historically, about 90% of purchases were made offline. So I knew that we had to get the products into our customers or potential customers' hands. I did not stand and pass out sheets, but I did go to as many trunk shows as possible and little events and parties and tried to set up tables and do this and that. But really, I had very little capital to spend. I was spending all of my money on buying our products because they were quite expensive. And so I hired a PR agency to help with that launch. And that was really it for the first year. I mean, we depended on PR and marketing, through press and media, and, telling stories and getting interviews. And then otherwise it was a lot of word of mouth. once people got the products in their hands, they were very excited and felt very connected to the brand. And, we got a lot of feedback, like, I've been looking for a brand like this. I've been waiting for a product. This is exactly what I wanted. And, people immediately understood what we were trying to do. But yeah, it took about 2 years, and then we opened our first physical store, which now we have quite a few of, partially because we know that people do want to touch and feel these products. But we didn't spend any money on marketing apart from our PR agency and the PR efforts for about the first year and a half. So that was how we got the word out.
I love it. Well, that's something I talk about a lot, that we not only spend our marketing budgets in handing out bottles of hint to sample, but we had a PR person almost immediately, an external agency. We didn't have anybody in-house.
Yeah.
I was the in-house person, but really telling the backstory of why I started the company. And, people would, this is even before podcasts, but people would pick up magazines and there'd be short clips of it. And people would want to try it. And then we actually told people to tell people to go into stores and ask for the products. So very relatable. So you went into physical stores. What was the decision-making process for that? Because you primarily started out direct to consumer when you first got going.
Yeah, we were direct to consumer for the first 2 years and opened our first retail store in 2016, partially because I knew that people were so used to buying these products in store. And so in an effort to be where our customers were and meet them, in their ideal shopping environment, I felt like retail had to be part of the story. I also knew that people were not used to buying these products in beautiful spaces. And I felt like if I could create this beautiful parachute world that people could come into and touch and feel the products and learn about the brand, that they would leave as real brand advocates. And so we opened our first retail store in Venice. It was actually attached to our first, our second office, and we worked behind this pony wall, and in the front of the store was our small 400 square foot retail store. And we could hear customers come in and say, "What do you sell here? Sheets?" And, we got to really understand what the customer was looking for. We've since expanded. We have 12 retail stores. Our 13th opens this week, and we'll have about 30 by the end of this year, with a plan to open many, many more after that. So, but retail, as we've expanded our assortment, we really can support these larger spaces, and set them up in a really beautiful way so that it feels like you're moving kind of from room to room, whether it's, like our tabletop kitchen area or a bath area or bedroom area. You really get to see the products be brought to life in a way that feels very authentic to how they would live in the home. And people do love to touch and feel. And some people just want to touch and feel and then buy online. But we just know that there is a customer that really does appreciate that tactile experience and is inspired when they come in. So it's working for us.
Your store in Venice is so cute. So I've definitely been into that one, and it's I'm excited to go into some of your others. And then you also went into Crate and Barrel.
Yeah. Last year, we launched in Crate and Barrel. It was a limited time offering, but we were able to build a parachute destination within the Crate and Barrel stores. And we also sold some products online. And it was a capsule collection that we created with the Crate and Barrel team, with some exclusive colorways and some of our favorite fabrics. And that was a really fun partnership and very successful for both brands, and a great way for us to get in front of a new audience, as well as, introduce the customer to our products. And we haven't done, that was our first really big wholesale relationship. And it was, designed to be short run, but it was really fun and an exciting way to see our brand in a different environment.
That's awesome. Well, it's super exciting to hear that you're testing all these different avenues. We've certainly had a situation where we went into Starbucks and many years ago, and we were working with them for a year and a half, and then they changed strategy and they went in a different direction. But the one thing that I realized about, partnering with with maybe somebody who's more established, bigger, more stores, whatever, however you want to look at it, is that you are kind of borrowing customers from them. And then ultimately, even if you're not working with them anymore, you end up, as long as you've done a great job, right, to grab that customer and they understand what your brand is. And I guess it really speaks to the power of brands as well. They'll keep coming back, because the number of people still to this day, and this was 9 years ago that we were in Starbucks, who will say, I tried your product for the first time in Starbucks. And I'm sure that's happening with you as well.
We're always looking for opportunities to tell our story. So for us, being able to build a small parachute experience within the Crate and Barrel store allowed us to really introduce the products in a way that was, engaging, versus going into a department store and just being on the shelf next to other competitive products and, not being able to share more about why we're different or what we stand for or who we are. And so this allowed us to do that. And so it was really appealing and, a strategy that, we could potentially, replicate in other kind of stores in the future. We actually launched in Canada last September and, launched in partnership with Hudson Bay. And so we're in a number of the Hudson Bay locations in kind of a similar experience. We've got a parachute destination in 20 of their stores. And we knew that it would be important for us to get the physical product on the ground for that new customer base. And so it's been fun to see those, be successful, be a successful strategy for us. And as we think about new markets, potentially, it's just, it's good to see what works and to test and to try new things and align with other brands that have similar values and learn along the way and see how you can improve in the future and what makes most sense.
What do you think is the most surprising thing you've learned about the consumer? Like, I always say that the consumer might say one thing, but they actually do something totally different. In your category, what would you say that is?
Well, there's a number of things. I think at a highest level, I think consumers just really appreciate transparency. And so, there's a customer that, wants to get in and out, doesn't need to know all the information, but there's truly a customer, and it's a good amount of people that really want a lot of information about products and they want to understand, and being transparent about everything that you do and how you make your products. And, likewise, if for some reason a product is delayed or, a customer has a negative experience, really being clear and communicating effectively with the customer goes a long way. Not everyone is going to love what you're doing, but I think there's a way to still create a positive experience for the customer. And a lot of that has to do with the way that you communicate and being transparent and just being thoughtful. I think also, we do surveys a lot and we're always trying to learn information from the customer and from potential customers. And so just seeing, what people really care about at any given time, whether, people are really motivated by sustainable products or whether they're motivated by, just color or longevity of products or, how things, feel against their skin. It's always interesting to me kind of what pops in various surveys and how people are thinking. And we see some of these, these things evolve, depending on what's happening in the world. And, but yeah, I think, the more that you can connect with the customer, the more that you can learn and create a product that really appeals to the customer. I mean, I've always said that, our goal should be to grow with our customer. We don't want to be a brand that people grow out of. And so, the more that we can evolve and learn and continue to give our customers what they want while staying true to who we are, the longer we'll be around and the more that people will appreciate us and feel like they can trust and stay connected.
I love that statement, growing with the customer, because it really is about product and brand extension along the way. And I think it's so smart how you guys have thought about that too. It's not just about colors. It's also about rooms and different items to add to it. So definitely super, super important. So in 2020, you launched a book, How to Make a House a Home, Creating a Purposeful Personal Space. How did you decide to launch a book?
Writing a book had been one of those things on my bucket list for a long time. I love to write, and it's been a creative outlet for me. And I also, love telling stories. And so the two kind of go hand in hand. I was introduced to my editor and we had this idea, and I worked really, really hard to write a book, and unfortunately it came out right at the beginning of a pandemic. So the whole book launch experience looked a little bit different than I expected, but things happen. And in many ways, it was a perfect time to write a book, because all of a sudden to come out with that book, because we were all spending so much time at home, and really rethinking our spaces and trying to adapt within our homes and create versatile living spaces. And I just love this idea of intentional living at home, really thinking about how your home can serve you, and thinking about, kind of eliminating all of the external kind of ideas about what a home should look like, and really thinking about how you live and your space and what makes you happy, and how you can design a home with that intention. I'm not an interior designer by trade, and there's so much that I've learned along the way, but it's something I'm very passionate about. So I shared really a lot of kind of anecdotal stories about my own experiences moving from apartment to home, really thinking about design in a way that was maybe a little bit untraditional and just more livable. It was a great experience. Writing a book is hard. It's hard work.
Yeah,
and
no, definitely.
Yeah,
I launched mine in the middle of the pandemic as well. So it was a crazy time, but I think it was definitely more than anything. What I'm seeing is that people are still, you think that it launched over a year ago, but so many other people don't really think about it that way. They're just seeing it for the first time. So I think I was disappointed to not be able to see my book on a shelf or, be able to, kind of have those book launch moments. But that was, there was still so much good that came and so much that I learned. And it was really exciting to see people get the book and share what, they felt inspired by. And you're right, books have longer shelf lives, and, they continue to find their way into the right homes, and we'll see what happens. Maybe there's another book out there for us. I love it. So you're a solo founder of a company and never having taken on any partners. What advice do you have for other solo founders? Like, what did you learn that you just didn't expect prior to starting?
I'm a sole founder, but I also, really from the beginning, and I mentioned my first hire, but I always really had a lot of self-awareness about what I was good at and where I needed support. And, I think some people feel that, maybe ego gets in the way, or, they don't want to be vulnerable or say, I don't know how to do this. Or, if they don't know how to do something, maybe it means that they're not cut out for, being a founder or being a CEO. I knew very early on where I would be able to add the most value within the organization and within the company. And I think the best advice that I have for anyone is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and better than you at many things. You don't have to be excellent at everything. And it's okay to be learning along the way. Everyone is learning along the way. There is certainly no playbook, for being the right founder or CEO for your business. Every business has different nuances and different sensibilities, and it's what you do differently that really makes you the most successful. So for me, being very thoughtful and deliberate in terms of the team that I built around me, so that we could do all the things that we wanted to do, was really important. And, being able to ask questions, being able to say, I need help. It's something that, we all do, and we encourage at Parachute, no matter where you sit in the organization. So I don't know. I always encourage people to also find other founders that you can share experiences with and create a community for yourself so that when things get hard or when things are great and you just, you want to be able to celebrate with someone that can really understand what's going on and how hard it was to get to that moment where you should celebrate. It's just having a community is so critical to being successful. So
I totally agree. My husband actually joined me as our chief operating officer. I recruited him pretty early to help me drive cases to Whole Foods. And so it was nice to be able to have somebody who could understand a lot of what I was thinking about and going through. But I think also, it's incredibly, it can be really, really tough for founders. And, after anyone who is human understands, the more times you hear the word no, right? And in a day, you really start to have your own doubts about whether or not this is actually going to work. You might have a fake it till you make it sort of face on you, but everybody's human. And you start to think, God, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should be going back to advertising. Maybe I should be doing other things, whatever it is. And I think that that's something that for some reason, a lot of new founders don't really understand. They think it's just happening to them, right?
Yeah. I think those first few years are some of the most isolating and lonely years. And, especially before you built a bigger team and, have, like more executives join you. There was a lot of highs and lows. And to your point, you hear a lot of no's. You still get a lot of no's no matter kind of where you are, but there's a lot of no's and there's a lot of, room for self-doubt. And it can be very, very isolating. And so to be able to have a community so that, when you're having that moment of self-doubt, you can call someone and say, I'm having a moment, and they understand what that means. You don't have to say much, likewise, I feel, I've been able to, call a friend and say, I'm having trouble hiring, and they get it, they know exactly what that means. And, I need to figure out how to raise more capital. There are these, I feel like universal through lines that no matter what type of business you're building, other founders have had similar experiences. And, I think it's important to have people that, are 10 years ahead of you that you can call on, and also people that are just, a few months or a year ahead of you that, and also people that are going through it like at the same time, So I've also found that many people and many other founders are very generous with their time and are happy to help and are happy to, carve out 30 minutes or an hour to give you feedback or to talk through a situation. And, I try to do that as well, and be helpful as much as I can. So
I love it. So true. Well, thank you so much, Ariel. Where do people find Parachute? What's the best place?
Well, you can find us at parachutehome.com. You can find us in a number of retail stores, and we've got that list on our website. On social media, we're also Parachute Home, and we'd love to hear from you and connect with you.
That's terrific. And Instagram as well.
Yep. Instagram, Parachute Home. Lots of beautiful, inspiring pictures and our own products. You can shop there too and learn more. And you can follow me at Ariel Kaye.
So very inspiring stuff. I love founders and founder stories, and we definitely talk about those on the Kara Goldin Show. But I'm also really inspired how social has allowed people to really see who are the people behind the brands. And I absolutely think people buy from people. So you got to have a great product and a great offering and a great brand and, everything about the brand. But I also think that more and more people are also very, very much an integral part of why people are purchasing things and attaching themselves to products, and yours definitely is one of those. So thank you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. And this is the Kara Goldin Show. We're here every Monday and Wednesday. And please check us out on Apple, Spotify, your favorite platform. And you can also follow me on all social channels at Kara Goldin. That's with an I. And finally, don't forget to purchase both of our books. So not just Ariel's book, How to Make a House a Home, creating a purposeful personal space, but also Mine Undaunted. And of course, grab a case of Hint and some sheets as well and other home things from Parachute. And hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Thanks all.